So if you've enjoyed the Excel VBA Beginner Building Blocks series, leave me a comment below. I'll get back to you there. Now, what just happened? I introduced the idea of conditionality. If something is happening, then we're going to do something. If that thing's not happening, then we're going to do something else. Yes, that's the concept we're going to take forward. In today's video, we're talking all about if statements in Excel VBA. Before we get started, don't forget to download the free course handbook that accompanies this course. We've got some secret videos on the website, and if you want to access the secret live session to celebrate the end of this series, you've got to be on this mailing list. The link is in the description below this video. With that said, let's get back into Excel, back into the VBA editor, and let me show you the only 3 conditional statements you need in Excel VBA. Let's get started with a simple one-line conditional statement. So let's create another macro in the VBA editor. I'm going to say sub one line because it's a one-line conditional statement. Let's talk about the logic first. My logic is if the value in cell B3 is blue, I want to flash up a message box to tell the user that. So we've got a condition. If the condition is happening, we're going to do something. Let's see it in action now. So let's say if range B3 equals blue, and we've got to get our spelling right. And remember, we need speech marks around blue because we're talking about the value in the cell there. We're not talking about a variable or something else. Then we're going to say message box blue. We're just going to flash up the word blue in a message box. Yes, this is how simple it is, guys. A one-line conditional statement. So let's step through this using the F8 key on the Windows PC. You can also go to debug and step into. So important to be able to step through the code to understand what's going on. So just pay attention to where the code goes now. If the line is yellow, that line of code hasn't yet been executed. So if I hit F8 one more time, Excel is going to execute that line of code and we're going to move in this direction. This is important. Hit F8 one more time and you can see we've got our message box flashing up. So if I change the value in the cell, let's just stop the VBA editor first. If I change the value, what's going to happen now? So I'm going to step through the code again, hitting the F8 key. Now this condition is not met, is it? Because the value in B3 is not blue. So where does the code go? Well, the code doesn't go into the actions that we'll undertake if the condition is met. That doesn't happen. So you can see when I play this code, nothing happens. This is the idea of a conditional statement. We're going to do something if something is happening in the workbook. Let's move on to our second conditional statement, which is using if, then, and else. So this allows us to do something if the condition isn't met. So once again, if range B3 equals blue, then else and end if. And you can see, as we try to do with loops and other things we've done in this series, we create the basic structure for the VBA we're building first before we try to go into the detail and put the instructions in. This is the basic structure for an if, else, end if statement. Create that structure first because it means you won't forget to do it later. So if the condition is met, what do we want to happen? We're going to say message box blue. That message box is going to flash up. And just notice, you can see our instruction for what happens is on a different line. It's on a different line, unlike the single line conditional statement that has to be on a single line. If not, then what do we want to happen? Let's just flash up a message box to say not blue. Just keep it really simple here. And now let's see what happens. This happens if the condition is met. This happens if the condition is not met. So just stop the video. What's going to happen when we step through this code? Once again, hitting the F8 key, and Excel has pointed out that I've forgotten to put the speech box in. Having pointed that out to you, really should have got that right, shouldn't I? Let's get those speech marks in there. We know we're going to make mistakes. It's one of the Excel VBA meta skills to be able to respond to them. Well, I still make them all the time. Hitting the F8 key, the syntax looks correct. So where are we going to go now? We can see we've got a value of red in cell B3, hitting the F8 key. So we're going to go to the else area because the condition is not met. And we can see our message box not blue flashing up there. So for completeness, let's go ahead, change this value. Is the condition met or not met now? The condition is clearly met. So where is the code going to go? And let's go ahead. I'm just going to reset the VBA editor, hit the F5 key this time, which is going to play the code. And you can see we've gone to this part of the code and our message box is flashing up. So conditional statements in Excel VBA. Don't go anywhere yet. I've got the most exciting one to come, but this is the basic idea. Is something happening? And then the instructions if it is happening. And then with if then else, we also get this facility to write what we want to happen if the condition isn't met. But you might be saying to me, but Chris, what I want to do is more complex than that. You know, I don't just want to go one of two ways. I want to go one of three or more ways. And this is why I love select case. So let's go ahead, sub select case. Let's give it a go. With select case, we can go any number of different ways with the code. So I'm going to say select case, and then it's range B3. I'm just wondering if I got the syntax right. We're going to find out. I think it is select case range B3. So we're saying to Excel, look at B3, and then whatever value is in B3, you're going to go to that part of the select case statement. And we set out this conditional statement by using the word case. So case red, case blue. I'm also going to go case green here. I'm even going to go case else, and then I'm going to say end select. So once again, we're setting out the whole framework, if you like, for the macro before we start putting the instructions in. Let's take the opportunity to recycle some code that we know works. Also going to speed up the video a bit. So I can put blue in here, just copying in here, Control V, Control V, Control V on the Windows PC. So I want the message box to flash up saying it's blue. If it's blue, then if it's red, I want the message box to display red. If it's green, I want the message box to display green. And if it's none of these colors, this is another reason I love select case. If it's none of these colors, we have this catch all option at the bottom. So if none of these things are happening, then this is going to happen. So I'm going to say not any of these with an exclamation mark for emphasis. And does that look good? I think so. So what are the main features of select case? We've got to say to Excel select case and then the thing to look at. Then we set out our options and the thing to do for each option. And then we've got to remember to close the statement at the end with end select. I'm not absolutely sure about the syntax. We're going to see how we go. I'm hitting the F8 key now. Select case range B3. So Excel is going to look at B3. And what's in B3? Well, blue is in B3. So I'm expecting Excel to go to the next line of code, and you can see that has worked. And then we've gone to end select because Excel's only going to go into one of these cases. They're mutually exclusive cases. So let's prove this to ourselves. Let's go for green now. So green is our third option. Remember, I've got three options and a catch-all option. You could have any number of options using select case. Hitting the F8 key here, we're going to go to case green, and then the condition is met now. So we should go into this condition, and we're flashing up message box green there. And just to really convince ourselves, can we get that catch-all case at the bottom? Can we get that catch-all case working? Hitting the F8 key now. Case else, we're dropping into case else because none of the other cases are satisfied. And you can see our message box flashing up there. So these really are the only conditional statements that you need. And you might say, but Chris, I don't want to just flash up message boxes. I totally understand, but this is just the building blocks. You could put any kind of code in here. You could have a loop in here. Any constructs you want, whatever you need to get the job done. But this really is all you need. The simple one-line conditional statement. Remember, the instruction about what to do if the condition is met must be on the same line. That's why it's called the one-line conditional statement. Then we have the if then else conditional statement to go one of two ways. And then case select allows us to, select case allows us to introduce any number of options. Yes, these are your Excel VBA building blocks. There really isn't anything else than this, guys. To Excel VBA, these are the building blocks of all the routines, the powerful routines that are creating value for people out there all the time. these are the building blocks that I'm using every day. Thank you so much for watching this series. And don't forget, if you're watching when this video is released, we've got a secret live session coming up. And don't forget, we've got the course handbook too. Go and sign up for the course handbook and you'll be put on that list to get that secret live session link. We'll be celebrating the end of this free course and hopefully sharing some of our wins with the Excel VBA Beginner Building Blocks course. The next video to watch is in the first comment below. I'll see you there.